Yes. So once again, Ollie, thanks for joining us. I believe we found your details online. Just give us an overview of where you've come from work-wise, where you're at currently, what's occurring, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, well, I started off in the brickwork business and scaffolding business back in Dublin many moons ago now. At this stage, back in 25 years ago, maybe. I used to run my own brickwork subbing contract works over there. I had up to 50 odd guys working for me for about 5 or 6 years over there. Done a lot of high-rise work and all various different types of work, brickwork. And after there, I ended up in Canada for a few years, done a few years over there. Then I ended up back here in London on the home counties, mostly for probably about 3 or 4 years, working for a company called Elliott Brickwork. They're not a massively big company, but you know they get their big enough jobs whenever they want them or whatever, and they come. After that, I swapped from subbing side to main contractor slash tier one companies. You know, from there I was working for John Sisk.
Mm-hmm.
Done about 3.5 years with them, predominantly in up in Wembley.
Mm-hmm.
They done a lot of works there down the Engineers Way. Done a lot of the facades works. Done the EO3 Canada Gardens. I looked after all the brickwork and scaffolding on that project. It was massive. Like it was like 2.5 million bricks in that project, I think, alone.
Crikey. Is that the biggest you've done in your career?
Sorry?
Would that be the largest delivery you've done in your career?
That would probably be the largest delivery I've done. Yeah. That, like as I say, that was across seven plots. Highest was 28 stories. As I say, it was all traditional build, brickwork, and scaffolding, traditional tube and fitting, scaffolding. And as I say, I managed it for the other side, not the subcontracting side. So I've done all the weekly updates and all that there for the brickwork and scaffolding for the whole duration. Then the scaffold strike, the handover then to the client, and what would you say? Finishing touches, everything was signed back over. Then after John Sisk, I've done a 3 or 4 month with Ardmore down in Kensington. That was
They're an interesting bunch, aren't they?
They are. Well, they put me a facades manager in the basement of a new cinema there in Kensington High Street. They wanted me to look after the retainment of the front of the old cinema. I can't remember the name of it. What's the name? I can't remember. It's gone out of my head. But they were taking down they'd really taken it down and they boxed it off somewhere, and then they were looking for somebody to look after it, come back in and look after it.
Yeah.
But they put me on the basement, and they were only they were 3 floors. They were 75 foot down in the basement. It took me on too early for a facades manager, and it just didn't work out from there because obviously it wasn't really enough to keep me interested, and you know what I mean. So that didn't end well. So just left them, and I'd done more or less a year then with St James and St William, down in Fulham, the gas works. Again, tier one company, looking after all the facades, GRC, aluminium cladding, brickwork. I think Lee Marley was the brickwork contractor on that project actually, and they didn't do the scaffolding. It was Another company done scaffolding. And after that, I'm currently with Oak Facades or Oak Specialist Services. They are a affiliation of Gallagher Tribe. They're not actually part of they're part of the group, but not actually part of the main company. Right. Must be.
Yeah, so I suspect it was either us or an adjoining building got struck by lightning. I do apologise. Never. What I'll do is I'll just splice this together. We're recording again now.
Yeah.
So you've reached the point of covering your career from start to present. What I mean, in your previous statement, you've made some reference to some very different environments. You know, we talk about your own business,
Yes.
subcontracting business, tier one main contractors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got the cultural differences between someone like Ardmore and someone like John Sisk. What?
Yes, very much. Cultural differences would not be the word I would put it, but you're not far away anyway. But yeah,
What?
different
In
worlds.
terms of your outlook going forward, what's important for you, having reflected on those sorts of environments?
I'll tell you what's important. Family is important to me. Being able to get home in the evening early enough so I can pick up my son, or I drop him in the morning, whatever's easiest. That's important to me more than anything. The work environment is one very important.
Yeah. How
Uh,
challenging is that going to be in general to find that sort of opportunity? I mean, is it
well,
really tight, the timing?
it's not. Most people now are changing their outlook. Look, I'm nearly 50 years of age. Like, you know what I mean. Look, my knowledge is up here, not on my hands. Anymore.
Yeah.
I don't.
Mm.
I'm not going to be going to work for somebody who wants me to go out on site and tell people what to do and how to do it. You know what I mean? Them days are gone. I'm not going to be doing that. You want to use my experience and what I can do for do the push on a site. Yeah, that's not a problem. But going out onto the coalface, no, not for me. My experience now is getting the jobs up and running and make sure they're run correctly on site.
Mm.
You have site managers to run sites. That's what they're there for. My
Mm.
my my job as a project manager is to project manage, not run a project.
So tell me about those things. What for you? I mean, I think you know, so I'll ask it as I've got an expectation that you'll deliver on this. What's important when being a project manager? What's the difference between a good one and an average one, for instance?
um, fuck, that's a good question. Like, but I'm sure that there's different aspects you could go down there. Look, it's making sure the job is done correctly and making sure it's economically correct and there's not money lost and time lost. Um, and make sure that there's a good working environment to be part of a good team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm part of a good team, not my team. It's part of a good team. That's the key. Having a
How
good
would
team.
how would your subordinates describe you?
um, that's a good question. I don't know. I never asked people that question. You know what I mean? Some people might actually ask that question of themselves, but I never go down that road. Like, as long as everybody's happy, you know what I mean, and we're getting the work done, and yeah, the numbers add up.
Mm.
What else can you kind of say? It speaks itself. You know what I mean? And if you have a lot of people coming and going, that speaks for itself as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so if you look at the like the performance indicators, I guess it's time, quality, and cost. What in terms of if you look at any of those facets that might be slipping, let's say you're falling behind schedule, maybe you've got underperforming subcontractors or teams, internal teams. How do you drive maximum output against a happy workforce?
You have to look after them, have to reward your guys. Maybe on a Friday afternoon, say, look, guys, there's a couple of pizzas for you. You know, build good, not good vibe, but what do you want to call it? Good understanding of how you want things to go, and you know, create a good atmosphere where, you know, if there's an issue, that you can pull somebody aside and say there is an issue, and that it doesn't, you know, like years ago, if you said something to somebody, they, you know what I mean, they'd turn around and maybe punch you in the face. But that kind of thing has to, as well. It's not that it has stopped, but you know, that sort of behavior now is gone. You know what I mean? You have to be able to manage people. You know. And sorry, I forgot the actually. Part of my previous training with John Steska is I've done insights training. You know, you spend 5 days, whatever you look at yourself and you do your own personality. What kind of personality you have? Are you a talker, or are you a listener? Are you a fighter, or are you a doer, and various different things. So I've done all that, and it helps you deal with situations as and when you know how to you look at the situation before you walk into it. You know what I mean? And if you're in it, find yourself in it, you try and get yourself out of it and evaluate the whole situation before you start telling people what to do and how to do it, because some people are different personalities, and you have to evaluate what kind of personality that person has, and that brings it all into the core of how you decide how you're going to be go ahead with your next step. You know what I mean?
I find that fascinating. I'm in recruitment because I'm fascinated by people, and you know, the motivations and the psychology behind decision making. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's foolish to try and apply a one shape fits all model.
Yeah, it doesn't work, you know. So, but it's a fairly good as insights. It's a truly unbelievable thing, because you know, you give you a piece of paper and you do a questionnaire, and they're able to, from that questionnaire and your choices you do in that one thing, you know, it's about like 100 questions, and they're able to tell you by the time you've done that there what kind of temperament you have, and they're absolutely spot on. And that's even if you try to deviate from it and say, oh well, that's not the guy, and that's not.
Yeah.
I reckon by the time you get down to the 100, that they've have you worn down, that your true self will come out.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So they can tell you everything about you and about your own personality. If you're a hothead, if you're not a hothead, or if you're a thinker.
Yeah.
You know, just it's an interesting.
We're in danger of going down a completely different avenue here, because my I could talk about this stuff all day. My experience is, if I sat one of those sorts of tests first thing on a Monday morning, and then sat the same test last thing on a Friday afternoon, there'd probably be two very different
You actually think
profiles. But I would have been guilty of being both of those people at that time.
Yeah, the thing is, it goes that deep into what way you're acting.
Yeah.
You can't hide it. You know, you can't. You know, whatever way it works itself out, the way they've worked it. There's no get. I don't think, you know. I actually thought that myself, and whenever I'd done the test, I'd done it very quickly, and I thought, you know, have I done this very quickly, over quickly? And they says, look, it doesn't matter how quick you do the thing or what way you've done it. I think it's because, you know, some of the key questions they've really asked you in the middle of it, whenever you thought you were getting away with, the key questions, they were getting your full concentration. You know what I mean? And they probably work it out based on maybe a third of the questions instead of 100. You know what I mean? And it's
absolutely.
Other ones are just there to throw you off. You know what I mean? And they know that you're going to lie.
They try and catch you out, don't they, by putting the same question in different wording.
Yeah, it's just different ways. You know, the same questions like, how would you cross that road? You know, how do you think you would cross that road? And,
yeah.
That's
And what about the other side of the coin? Like, when was the last time you had to discipline somebody in the workplace?
That's a good question. It's been a while.
And is that a reflection of like a good, clean house is a happy house? And
Well, as I say, look, the last few, if I had went to John Susk, then we were going through back in at the start of COVID, stuff like that, and then previous jobs of that. If there was any issues with any of the operatives on site, bear in mind I had about 200 underneath me up there.
Yeah.
Bricklayers and scaffolders. The bricklayers were predominantly Eastern European, lovely guys, no brothers at all with them. The scaffolders, on the other hand, were, some of the worst fucking idiots you'll ever meet in your life.
They're an interesting breed as well, aren't they? Them scaffolders.
You get an odd one who square up to you and ever blah blah blah. Then they have to wear glasses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There, it's a simple way of way it is. Like, you just go and say they're a project manager. At the end of the day, that by such and such. When he comes to going back in here tomorrow, he'll find his card stopped because we don't want that his sort of behaviour on site.
Yeah.
And then as them being a subby, they have then to go and talk to that person and because they're the manager, give the details of what the fuck happened and why they're not been allowed back on site. And that's how it was. Because as you say, you don't want, as I say, the day of being confrontation and a roaring shouting match, you don't want that. Like, you know what I mean? The people are managers, the managers for a reason,
Yeah.
And,
so let's time's getting the better of us, Oliver. So thank you again. Just let's just end on this, because I suspect you know more about Lee Marley as a business than I do.
I know a lot about Lee Marley. I know one or two of their project managers, and they're from the contracts managers as well. Because they've done work from where they were on that site down in Fulham. Nice guys, no problems whatsoever. You know what I mean? That's about all I know about them. I never actually met Lee himself. I don't know much about. Well, I know enough about him. I'm connected with him online.
He's a no-nonsense, straight talker, Oliver. That's what he is.
No, I'm connected with him on LinkedIn, and I know what he's doing. The stuff he's been setting up for apprenticeships and various different things. He's doing a lot of good stuff like that. Which is,
I think someone's got to take the initiative on that, because there's
absolutely.
just a lack of people on that.
You won't have any bricklayers, or anybody coming through.
Well, based upon your understanding of them as a business, clearly there's an interest from your perspective. What you know about yourself and your own mannerisms and where you think you'd fit in. This is something you're looking at keenly, I'm assuming.
Sorry, with Lee Marley and I'll be interested in having a chat with them to see what kind of avenues or what they would have available for the likes of me.